Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and I'm here today with Patrick Nelson. And what we're going to talk about is his journey in real estate, but also his passions, 1031 exchange and student housing. Guys, remember, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, kind of all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business. And we do it by providing the resources to grow the business they want to grow and live the life that they want to live. So, Patrick, man, welcome to our show.
John, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. We're both from Southern California, so we had a little good conversation offline. But I'm excited to talk about, the student housing part, especially because I've talked to a few people and I do have some questions. But before we get into all that stuff, tell our audience about you, kind of your background and what got you to today.
Sure, love it. So my grandfather had 4 brothers. They started Nelson Brothers Construction in Utah, 1946. And they worked on things we've all been on, like the I-15 freeway, Glen Canyon Dam.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that. And then my dad, he grew up, working construction and then moved to Mission Viejo and was actually the general sales manager for the Mission Viejo company, which was the first general planned housing in the country. I remember going out when they were filling up Lake Mission Viejo and he was selling houses, and they would literally take a lottery to see who got the houses for $39,000.
Wow, that's back in the day of a bunch of orange groves too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I grew up in real estate. I kind of want to say it's like I'm like the Mannings. The Mannings aren't the greatest athletes, but they had one of the best dads as a quarterback coach, so they're so good. Mm-hmm. So I just grew up in real estate, and you guys know the kind of people. Like, whenever I'd go to someone's house, my dad wouldn't say how you doing. He'd be like, look at these windows. I didn't build them. And all that.
So true.
Just looking at real estate and the opportunities there, and it made a whole career out of me.
And that's funny because sometimes I talk to people who got in, had that whole family dynamic of real estate, and they just that's what they didn't want to do. But then when they went out to the world and then they got into their thing, they realized that's really what they did, right? So how did you? When there was no transition, obviously, going, because you knew, right? You kind of knew real estate, but when you got out on your own, what were some of those type of struggles that you think you started with?
Oh, sure. So look, I wanted to be educated, so I got a finance degree from BYU, and then I got an MBA from Utah State.
Wow.
And I actually had my emphasis was entrepreneurship. That's really what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily know it was going to be in real estate, but then my first real job, actually, I started a hedge fund back in the late 1998, 99.
Yeah.
I was doing all that. And then the whole market crashed in 2000, right when I graduated from MBA school. And it was just insane. And then all of a sudden, I found out about this new 1031 emerging industry that had just come online in 2002 with a new revenue procedure that allowed multiple investors to do a 1031 into one bigger project.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my future.
Do you think growing up around the construction part and a lot of that swayed you to the other side? The more of the
1,000%. So like one of the biggest things I will say that people in real estate get, it's an ineffective market. So unlike the stock market,
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
back in the day, you could buy IBM maybe in New York and sell it for a quarter point more in the Pacific. Now it's all automated, super efficient. Only the market makers can really. But real estate, you could literally walk in a neighborhood, right, and find neighbors within 5 houses of each other, and one's a way better value than the other, just because the seller may or may not understand. They may or may not have put stuff into it. And then I saw the same opportunity, massive opportunity in student housing, because every university is its own macro or micro market. Does that make sense? So like,
yeah, no, 100%. And I love the idea of student housing. So let's talk about that for a few. Just because there's folks on here that maybe don't have the knowledge and maybe they're a bit newer. So explain what student housing is versus, someone that's going to just go rent an apartment.
Sure. Yeah. Student housing, the market essentially is, it's not the dorms. That's owned and run by the university,
Right.
primarily. And so they control all of that. And so it's after they come out of the dorms, it's where do they live, right? And then there's all these apartment complexes, there's basements, there's people running their houses back from even 1890s. And so, guys our age, we all have stories about living in just horrible conditions in student housing because we didn't care. It was cheap. It was by the campus. Now
Right.
it's become a huge industry. And I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the only publicly company was called ACC, American Campus Communities, was purchased by BlackRock for $13 billion. I can't remember if it's BlackRock or Blackstone, which one is it? Anyway, that put it on the map. And now there's a lot of people coming in, but it's still a very, very unique, diversified market from, a student parent owning a condo because they think their kid wants to live there for 4 years, which they don't usually, or like a big, huge institution that, bought $100 million project next to a major, major university and everything in between.
Why don't these universities and colleges have their own type of program where they buy houses and they do that for people?
Some do, like UCI, for example, right here in Orange County, they control all the housing and all that. And even the faculty can stay there. But here's why. It's really expensive. Okay. And the real estate and operating and all that. And so most state-run universities are building new buildings and classrooms and trying to stay up with technology and redoing their old campuses. And so the freshman year is very important. It's their first year, kids are away, there's all these studies, what's better to live in the dorms. But
Right.
after that, it just doesn't make economic sense for most state-run universities because they have so much better things to do with their state-funded, funds and all that. And so they leave it to the market. And there's different states, have different rules. Every university has different rules, like, private schools like TCU or Notre Dame require sophomores also, and sometimes even juniors, like Notre Dame. It's usually 3 years, so it's only 1 year of student housing. So it's a much tougher market than, say, for example, Utah Valley University, where we have some properties that has 50,000 kids and no dorms. Right.
Wow.
So
Okay.
all over the place.
Got it. And are there special, I know it will probably vary market to market, school to school, like you mentioned, as far as them staying in the dorms. Are there like different rules or regulations or things that you have to worry about with a student housing versus just, a regular rental?
That's funny. I'll tell you, the main thing is students are really tough on your property.
Right.
They beat it up pretty good, right? But then you also rent it out per bedroom. So you tend to get more rent per unit than you do like a normal 2-bedroom. And so when you underwrite it, after we've been doing it for a long time, we know what all the rules of thumb are and, about how much expense is going to cost. And you have to be able to charge the students and their parents if the kid decides to, rebuild his motorcycle engine in your living room, which they do, or if somebody gets mad and kicks the door in, So you can't just be like an offsite manager that doesn't really pay attention, right? Because the kids are pretty, but once you kind of get under control.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
You can keep all that. And then the other huge thing, this is the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be leased up before school starts. Because when school starts, you're stuck with that rent roll for the next 12 months.
Right.
If you don't lease up, there's no kids coming until the next fall. I mean, there's maybe a few, right? But whereas, in a multifamily, or even if you have like your single family, you want to rent it out, somebody moves out, you can clean it up and then just put it up for rent. Somebody's going to come tour it and rent it. Students, You're dead till the next fall.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Big urgency.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, you might have maybe a little bit of influx in between semesters, but most of the time, yeah, I get it. And I was talking to another gentleman, and one of his biggest issues, or not issues, but hurdles or challenges with the student housing is funding, finding financing, lending, right? People don't necessarily want to lend to, I guess they call them boarding houses. Is it what the technical term might be for student housing? Because he does it around campuses, and he just couldn't find funding. So I don't know what is your take on all that.
So what's great about it is in the last probably 5 to 10 years, it's become much more of a well-known industry, and so there's the big lenders are all there, right? Fannie and Freddie, CMBS, the national banks, even debt funds, life insurance, they all do student housing. But you've got to have experience. You got to know what you're doing. Because you can't just walk in and say, I want to get a loan, and buy even like a 24-bed complex. Because if you don't lease up, you can't make your payments for a year.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be strong enough to be able to carry all that. So, the funding is all over the board, and it changes based on who's giving us the best rates and stuff like that. But it's definitely available, although you're not going to get high leverage. Most likely you're going to get 55 to 60%, where sometimes in single family flipping, what is it called? You can get up to 100% lending, 90%.
Yeah.
And, maybe you get 75 or 80% if you're doing a value add, redoing the kitchens and interior or something. But for the most part, it's capital intensive. That's why working with someone like us is a much better way for mom and pops to get into student housing than trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, he was telling me that because it was a rent by the room situation, they labeled it a boarding house, and he couldn't get financing for it. It was weird. And I thought that there has to be financing for it. Some
lenders are like that, especially if they don't know it. But now, like I said, the Freddie and Fannie are the
big ones. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
They have special student housing underwriters. You got to get into that department. But one of the things when you're talking about that is a lot of mom and pops will call me, my personal friends, especially when their daughter or son's going to college, and they're like, hey, should I buy this condo? Should I invest in this condo because they're going to be there 4 years and they can get their friends and they can manage it for me?
Mm-hmm.
There's pros and cons. Let me get that because everyone asked me about that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we talked about this before we got on.
Here's the big thing. The student housing houses, right, that you're renting out, they don't tend to move up, like when single family, houses take off.
Right.
Like in California, you see them just go nuts, or another Florida or wherever. The ones by universities tend not to because there isn't a bunch of people trying to buy them to live there. So they're going to be based mostly on the income, like on a cap rate basis.
Right.
And so you're really buying it on an income basis, and it's a lot of work because you have kids move out. And then here's what else happens. Your son or daughter, the first year, I highly recommend this, and this is my advice, being in it for 20 years, is have your kids live in the dorms the first year. Their first year away,
always.
They have RAs, they have advisors, they have all these people looking out for them. Let them adjust 1 year from being away from parents. There's all sorts of studies done that they get higher grades. The dropout rate goes way down, right? Their satisfaction and long-term friends goes way up because they meet other kids their age in the dorms instead of living with someone that's a senior, that's partying or whatever. So it's way better to do that. Second year, maybe they want to live in your house that you bought, but the third year they want to move somewhere else with some new person. right? Or some new group of kids or whatever.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And so most students don't want to live in the same house and be a manager for 3 years. Then the parents end up doing it. And all of a sudden they're like, I'm doing all this, for 4 kids, and I'm barely covering my mortgage, and it just doesn't usually work out. So that's my advice: find good student housing and get your kids in the dorm first. But if you can buy bigger, like if you can buy like a 12-plex that has 30 or 40 beds with a group of friends like doctors and your alumni, and you love the school, that's a much different. And you can get a hire a professional management company. That's a different investment.
Got it. Okay, so what you're saying is, for folks that have kids going to college, don't go buy a place for them to rent out. Instead, do what?
Instead, put them in student housing.
Okay.
Yeah, because student housing, number one, we can lock the doors. You have a management company. The parties go way down. And if you buy a house, by the way, that's the other thing. If you buy a house, what will happen is the parties will be at your house. That's because there's nobody watched over your son or daughter's throwing the party. And if they move out, and now you got some other kid as the manager, and in the student housing, we have the parents, guarantee the leases.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's much more regulated. They don't really have the parties in our place and all that. They tend to go off campus to the frat houses and the sorority houses, and then also to the individual mom and pop houses.
Right. Got it. Okay. And how do you find these places?
So that's another thing. They don't turn over a lot, right? Because they're cash cows. So people just hold them. I mean, like, you have to just be out there in the market. And I've personally been around the country. I've been in over 100 markets, like 15 states. And I'm good friends with the national brokers and the local brokers. And they know that we close, right? And then we know how to underwrite. So we don't really retrade at the last second.
Right.
So most of my stuff is just relationships where people call us and say, hey, I'll give you the first look if you want to come buy this thing, because there's not a ton of experts in student housing. And we're not experts everywhere. We try to buy in the same markets and get some economies of scale. So right now, we're probably in 10 markets. I try to be Rocky Mountains West at this point.
Nice. And it's all focused around, are you major universities? Are you going for maybe secondary universities, like the smaller ones?
Oh, it's such a great question. That's the other thing. Everybody wants to buy a university they can watch on TV and the PCS.
Right.
And, those are big schools, but like take College Station, Texas A&M, 60,000 kids, but there's like 70,000 beds built there because there's just land everywhere.
Right.
Same with the Florida's, right? There's so much. It's like going to Vegas. You go to like Florida State or University of Florida, you can just see this, and it's all luxury. And the luxury housing is really only the top 10% of the rich kids. All the rest, 90% of them are on a budget. Right. So we've actually made the most money there's still great schools like the Sacramento States, the Utah State, the Montana States, the College of or University of Northern Arizona,
NAU.
Those type of schools, because they're still big schools. They're great universities. You don't see them on TV with their football maybe once a year. And you would buy like a C+ property or a C and make it a B-.
Nice.
So it's a
value
nice
add.
value. It's way cheaper than new stuff. That stuff has worked so well for us.
Yeah, I would think that'd be a great place to find the lower value, like you said, see stuff and value add to it. That'd be a fantastic area. Let's talk about the other topic, our 1031 exchange. Tell our folks what a 1031 is, why it's beneficial, why people use it, etc.
So I'm a little biased, but I think that 1031 exchange is the greatest way to build wealth in the world. Okay. Because a 1031 is a tax code, right? Like 1040, 1099. I'm sure most of your real estate people know exactly what it is, but they don't know to the extent that you can use it. So if basically what it says, if you have an investment property and you sell it, you have to identify a new property within 45 days and close within 180 days. And here's the key: you pay no taxes, zero capital gains taxes. And then also Our properties cash flow about 7 to 7.5% on your equity. Okay, so if you put $1 million with us, you make $75,000 a year, and then you get all the depreciation, right? And that shelters the income. The problem is if
Okay.
you sell your property, so let's say you've been having income in a rental, and you've been, your account's been writing it off on the Schedule E or whatever. Well, if you sell and don't do a 1031, you have to pay recapture taxes on all that
On
income,
all that money. Wow.
and
Okay.
that's federal and state. And then you have to pay the capital gains tax. And sometimes between all of that, you actually owe more than you got in proceeds. And
Right.
it's upside down. However, with the 1031, you can exchange for life. We call it swap till you drop. And your next of kin will actually inherit it at the stepped up basis. And all of that goes away.
Mm.
And so the biggest issue is people want cash flow. And so that's what's great about us is in 2002, they changed the laws. That didn't change, it actually adapted the laws and made it so we can buy like a $50 million property. And we can have up to 50 or 75 investors that sold their deal for $1 million, put it with us. They don't lift a finger, and then we put 75,000 in cash a year, just direct up. It's not even a check anymore; it's direct deposit.
Mm-hmm.
Diversify, across different the different asset classes, and obviously one of our units will have 300-400 beds, which is way more diversified than if you have even a duplex with 2 renters.
Right.
Or you have a single family residence, your renter moves out, you have no income.
Yeah. 100%.
Or if you get a squatter, I had a squatter once in one of my condos I had in Irvine. It took me 6 months to get him out back in like 2009, and when I finally got him out, it cost me $15,000 to redo the condo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, California's not a landlord friendly state per se. But let me ask you this. Can't I just do that on my own? Do I need a company to do that with or for me?
You can absolutely do it on your own. And the difference is as you get older, right? Time becomes your biggest, your most precious commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And then the problem is, let's say you bought, typical investor, they bought like a rental house in 1995, 400 grand. Right now it's worth 1.8 million. Right? And maybe they have 2 or 3 of them. If they sell it, what are they going to go buy for 1.8 million? To buy another rental house that they got to rent or a rehab? And you can
Right.
always make money in real estate. That's my thing, no matter what the market's doing, with blood, sweat, and tears.
Mm-hmm.
But at 70, 72, you don't have the time. You don't care about it. So instead, you can roll it into us, and you can put 1.8 million. You can put 600,000 in 3 of our properties: 1 in Oregon, 1 in Utah, 1 in Brooklyn, New York, in one of our lower income, high yield housing. And you don't lift a finger. We do all the negotiation. And then the other thing is your buying power is 1.8 million. You're competing with all the other house flippers, everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Where we come in, we buy hundreds of millions a year. So I have a lot of leverage with both lenders and brokers out there. Brokers will flip me a deal because they don't want to go through open houses and do all the work, and
Right.
And we close on it in 60 days, and they get their commission. We all win. And that kind of buying power, unless you have a big fund behind you or something like that, you just can't compete. And right now we have 4 properties available or coming up, and none of them were on the market. We bought them all or put them under contract, all off market. One of them
Nice.
is actually coming out of our portfolio. We've had it for 10 years, and now it's in a perfect position to be rehabbed.
What if I want money out of these properties instead?
So they're not liquid per se like the stock market, but because we have so many investors and we have way more demand, we usually tell people if they'll give us 60 days,
Okay.
that we can buy them out, or we'll take them out usually at par value, or if it's gone up a little bit, you can negotiate that. And or we try to sell our properties about every 3 to 4 years. And at that point, you can either roll again with us in a new property, you can pay taxes, you can buy your own.
Got
Super
it.
flexible.
Got it. Okay. And before we talked to you, also talked about some funds and some other stuff you're working with. Why don't you kind of, share with us what you're doing?
So we're doing something really exciting right now. We're coming out with a new Icon America high yield, low income housing fund. So it's going to start at 7.5%. As I mentioned, we're closing on $1 billion portfolio of low income housing. And when I say low income, it's not Section 8. It's not Section 8,
Mm-hmm.
but the average rent's about $700, $750.
Okay.
And you can't build that stuff. Like you can't go buy the land and then build. And
No.
what's great about these housing too is they're all like single story. They're about 25 yards from each other. It feels like a neighborhood. There's
That's
no
cool.
way you can go buy land with like 6-7 acres and build 90 units on it only and make it pencil at $700. And so they've been 95% full for 10 years. And it's just,
Wow.
we call them swan investments. Sleep well at night. They're just super boring. And
We
you
love
make
that.
nice income, and you write it off with the tax shelter, with the depreciation. And we do it all for you. And then with this fund, then when the property sells, the fund will roll it into a new deal and keep all your money working for you. So instead of paying 40% between capital gain tax and depreciation, if you were to cash out, we keep 100% of your capital gains rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And so make it 30-40%, which is our average result, right? Your income's going from 7.5 to 7.5 on, 130% of your next investment. Now you're making 10 or 11, and you just keep on going. And here's the other great thing: our debt is 10-year interest only, about 4.25.
Oh, nice.
That's our cap rate. Our debt coverage ratio is like over 2, if you know what that means. And it's just super boring. But
super boring. Yeah, you said it exactly perfect. It's just super boring, but it's stuff you got to know. If folks want to invest with you, they want to talk to you about your funds, they want to just learn more about 1031 or student housing, how do they get in touch with you or your company? You, preferably.
Icon1031.com.
Icon1031.com.
And we're a small family-run business, so we don't do a ton of properties, and so we sell out a lot. But yeah, icon1031.com, and we answer all the questions.
Awesome.
And we really just want what's best for you. There's lots of strategies, like one of your last guests, I think his name was Mike Zuber, I think. He was talking about you buy 4 rental properties or something when you're 30, and then when you're 60, you have all this money, right? The problem is turning it into cash.
Right.
So now you can sell 1 or 2 of those. Even better, you can refinance it, get money out tax-free, and then sell it, and then roll it into ours. And we have 50% debt, so we cover the debt for the 1031, non-recourse to you.
Awesome.
And now we turn it into cash flow, right? So a couple $1 million, $140,000 a year, tax sheltered, and you didn't lift a finger. So we've got a great destination place for those people that are done doing all the blood, sweat, and tears and shoveling driveways and renting property and picking it up, and trying to negotiate and bid, and then yeah, you get it. So that's kind of a great ending spot for these type of people. It's a $5 billion industry right now.
Wow, that's incredible. Guys, if you or you know anybody that can benefit or use this knowledge or information, I hope you took notes, and I hope you took down the website. Reach out, talk with Patrick, and find out, anything that you want to know. Patrick, thank you, man, for coming on. You shared a wealth of stuff. I mean, I got half a page of notes here. You couldn't tell I was writing, but yeah, I got a lot of stuff here. And guys, I hope you took good notes too, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Patrick, thank you again, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.